All right, good afternoon. We're working on the Monitaur today. What we're going to be doing to get started is we're going to be implementing Angular Grid instead of the material tables, just for some of them. So let's go ahead and get started with that. The first thing that I want to do is I just cleared my database. Everything is passing on the tests. So we are going to jump into the web app. And in here, I'm going to create a new project called Test Project 1. And we'll give it a client app here as a web app, and then another one here as the web API. Okay. If I was to look at this web app, I can grab this OAuth token here, and we can bring this into my TCP client. And we can run this and set my OAuth token. And then we can send these alerts here. And this is going into the database and then also just across the pipe to SignalR. And we could do this as a warning, online, hello, first warning. And there you can see that it's propagated. Let's go ahead and set another one here with an error. A big error, and then one more here with a info for online and back online. So these messages are what we're going to add here into our hub, or into our AG grid. So what I want to do is open up my Angular project, and then let's go ahead and open up our documentation for this. So AG grid is put out by, it's AG is the product. So we're just going to go through their standard startup. So to do this, the first thing that we want to do is we want to add via npm here. So we're going to npm install AG grid community. And additionally, we want to do AG grid Angular. When this finishes, what we're going to do is we're going to add the Angular Grid module to our app. So here on my app module, underneath imports, that's interesting. Underneath imports here, we're going to go ahead and add an AG Grid module, which is with components. Now let me do an npm install. We'll do an audit fix first, and then an npm update. npm install. What's going on here? Let's go ahead and just close this and reopen it. And try giving that another ng serve. Okay, so now it's running okay. So what we're going to do is add AG grid module here, and I probably need to add it as a import. What is it? AG grid module from, and it's probably like at AG grid. No, just AG grid. Angular. Probably. Yeah, and now we're good to go. So everything should be compiling correctly now. And if I look at my front end, I can see it's loading, but we don't have the grid implemented at this time. So we need to add onto my styles.scss a import statement for the AG grid and our AG grid themes. So let's take a look at what we can choose for our AG grid themes. Hey there, Keith. How are you doing, man? Welcome. AG Belham. Professional is a dark version of the AG grid, AG theme material. Well, we'll leave it with this one and change it to be dark for now. They have a material theme. Is that what I want? I'm going to try this one, though, to get started. Okay, and now that we've imported the CSS inside of my app component TS, I need to declare the basic grid. So I should already have column definitions in here. This is inside of shared components, dashboard, projects. Oh, I currently don't have it set up on a table, right? These things are rendering individual components here and not into a table. So let's change this to be a div. And then this I'm going to do as an app alerts dashboard and pass in my alerts here as alerts. Yeah, that's what I was reading too, was that the material one had too much spacing. I'm glad we chose the same one. Okay. So now when I look at my alerts here, this input is now to an array of alerts. And then okay, and so now that I have that, the first thing I want to have in here is my column definitions, which is going to be a header name equals just something, and my field is going to be something. And we're going to duplicate this for everything that's inside of iAlert. So I'm going to open up my core models for iAlert. And my header name here is going to be status type, which is status type. Okay, and the next one here is a alert type. And the next one here is a message. And the very last one here is going to be a timestamp. Okay. Now we don't need to worry about the row data, because the row data, I think, is going to be my alerts. So inside of this component now, we can comment this whole thing out. And we're going to change this to be an AG grid Angular. And we want to say that my style here is, I'm just going to copy what the tutorial is, 500 pixels, and my height is 500 pixels. My class equals AG theme Belham dark. My row data is alerts. And my columns data, my column definitions are my column defs. And that should be it. Let's go ahead and check it. So it didn't render. It says that row data is not a method of AG grid. So it's not part of the module. So that means that in my app module, when we have the AG grid module, we're going to bring this one into the shared components module. Can't bind to columns defs because it's only singular. And there it is. Wow, that was easy to get this thing set up. This is a pretty slick grid, to be honest. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of the styling on it, see what that does for it. Seems like it doesn't have a size, so we could say the width is 100% and my height is, I don't know, 300 pixels or something. Now, it's not in a container or anything, so let's add a container. And this, we want to call it a div class equals container. Hey there, Fallen Hope. Oh, hi there. How are you doing today? Welcome. So the width, let's see, I need to get this thing to be responsive to the sizing. I could change the width to be like, see, but this should be inside of a container. Okay, can I get it to be why is that pointing there? Okay, so maybe it'll let me, let's go ahead and add sorting and filtering here. So on my alerts TS here, I'm going to add in a sortable as true. And that was easy. Okay, this is a pretty slick grid. We're going to add in a filter is true. How's my favorite dude? I'm doing great, man. How are you today, Pierre? Thanks for coming hanging out. Now I can filter on it. Okay. Still looking here to see what else we can do. Row data async. I don't need to do it with the pipe. You could add selection to it. So to do that, we'll add a checkbox selection as true. Checkbox selection. There we go. Perfect. So we can get rid of all of the other three because we only care about that one. Perfect. And to do multiple selection, over here we're going to do a row selection equals multiple. Row selection. And we want to do this with the object. But maybe I can do it with this way. I don't really know the intricacies of which bindings I went and where. But in this one, I don't want them. And so what we want to do now is we want to have a function in here which is going to get the data that's been selected. So to do that on the HTML, we're going to add in an identifier here called AgGrid. And then we're also going to have a button in here, which is going to be a click event called Get Selected Rows. And then in the back end, I'm sorry, on the TypeScript side, we have Get Selected Rows here. And what we're going to get is our selected nodes is my this.aggrid, which we need to add up here as a @viewChild. Which is called AgGrid. And it's an AgGrid Angular. Okay. And then down here, we want to say my API.get selected nodes. And then we're going to get my selected data equals my selected nodes.map. And we're going to map our node to my node.data. And then we want to get my selected data string presentation equals my selected data.map. And it's going to be for my node.make plus a space plus my node.model.join, like that. And then I want to do an alert for my selected nodes. And we're going to go ahead and present this selected data string presentation. There it is, but it didn't display it, so just a second. Selected nodes, undefined, 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 undefined. This is selected data.map. Let's just do a console.log of my selected nodes. Keith, are you still out there? Data. There it is. Like that. Yeah, it's still coming back as a alert. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that's perfect. And then this is going to return a just have it return any and just return these. He says, yeah. So I'm trying to get the formatting on this. I figure you've already messed with it. No, I got that. I got that. But what my question is at this point is, so I have everything working. I want to get this formatting right. I was having a little bit of an issue getting it to be exactly just something default, normal looking, like a, I don't want to use hard-coded values. So I probably need to put it in what, like a flex box? So we'll do, yeah, create a class for it. Div class equals AG grid container. and then just modify it in here. Do it like a what? Display as a flex, box, flex. So now the flex box doesn't know a width. So let's go over here to a have the AG grids with the width and the height at 100. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and now pull up that doc on Flexbox. I wonder if I could just put it in a container. I think I tried that. Let's say the height here is like 150 pixels or something. Display as flex. So now it's 100%. Where do I do the sizes? Just use a normal block display. Yeah, it's still too big. So let's look at this directly. In DevTools. It's this container. I added just container here. That didn't fix it. So it's up on this one. That's okay. So it's this container right here, which is not getting set right. Yeah. Seems like it's always going to make me... So I must not have jQuery loaded in this project, which is fine. Right? So back over on Flexbox. We do this as a flex and a flex grow to be 1. No. Well, I can't figure out how to get this thing to fit nicely. It's being really annoying here. Okay, I'm looking up over here now. DOM layout equals auto height. It says to set here DOM layout equals auto height. Okay, that was great. Is there another one for auto width? No. No. Okay, so it says here there's a minimum rows for the auto height. We don't actually want auto height because we want these things to have a limited number. So we'll get rid of this. Now it has an example for me here. What's the width on this set? Resizable. So this is really strong with all the different things. Send a query for your current row count. Inside a Flexbox container. The grid runs at a timer that watches its container size and resizes accordingly. This might interfere with some things that naturally flex. Okay, so this one says that what I should be doing is setting this to 100 and 100. And then in the SCSS here, we want to say that the display here is flex. My flex direction is a column, is a row. And then on this one, we're going to have one more div here called AG grid flex container. Okay, and so this is your flex container, and then you're going to have just a regular container here. And in this one, we're going to do a overflow is hidden. My flex grow is a 1. And then here we can add back in our DOM layout dash equals auto height. Now, it also said that what I wanted to do was have a second component in here. And down here underneath your AG container here, we're going to go ahead and have my div class equals AG grid right. And we're going to call this the flex box, flex right. And in this one, I just want to say that my padding is 2. Now that's starting to prevent it from going too far over to the side. Okay. So that's not my favorite. So let's try a different solution now. If I look at this one, we're going to have my AG, we're just going to call this container. And then I'm going to have a div here, which I'm going to call my container left, AG container left. And this will be a AG container center. Well, okay, there's quite a few to pick here, actually. So why don't we emulate the one that we want? We have one here that comes with a scroll. We don't need that. We can do this dynamic horizontal scrolling without a scroll. We like this one. Interesting. So we like this dynamic, or this one. We like this one right here. So let's look at the code for this, okay? So when I look at this one, we've got my AG container here, which is at a width of 100%. And then we're going to have our grid, which is at 100 and 100. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do a, we're going to do a grid size changed event. Is going to be a on grid size changed as a event. And we also want to have one for grid ready, which is on grid ready as a event. Okay. And so now I need to, in my code, have a function on grid size changed, which is going to pass in some parameters. And we're going to get my grid width is equal to my document.get element by ID of my AG grid container. And we want to get my offset width. Who is that? And why didn't that show on the screen? Let me try to fix that. Wonder why that didn't work. Rowan, stop, sit. Thank you for that follow, by the way. Appreciate that. I need to look up to see who that was and why that didn't fire. Let me try that again here. Sorry about that, that didn't work. But that's what it should have looked like. Strange. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. All right, let me keep going on this. So now what we want to have is we're going to change this to be a const. And then we're going to have this as a let columns to show. And then a let columns to hide. And then a let total columns width. And then a let all columns equals my params.column API.get all columns. And I'm just taking this right from their tutorial. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a for let I equals 0. I is less than my all columns dot length. And then I++. Here what I want to have is a let column equals all columns of I. And then my total columns width here is my column plus my get min width. And now if my total columns width is greater than my grid width, then my columns to hide dot push my column dot column ID. And if not, then we're going to push this to the columns to show. And then down here, we're going to do a params.column API dot set columns visible. And it's a columns to show is true. And then this is columns to hide as false. And then additionally, we have one more, which is the onGrid ready event, which is this .grid API. I don't think we need anything for that. So now if I was to add on this a padding from the right of 5, I mean, I don't want this to go on forever, is what I want. I want it to cut off. So can we do like a maximum width, max width here of like a 500 pixels? This is my container here. So if my max width here was 200 pixels, see, that's what I want. That's what I'm trying to nail down. Oh, that's what it is, AG container. There we go. So we can now set this as a maximum width of 800 pixels. Let's do 900 pixels. Perfect. And now we can get rid of this on grid ready and then there too. Okay, so this is looking much better. Now if I was to go here and grab this OAuth token again, and we fire from the TCP server again, you can see it's working just fine. Cannot read property offset width of null. Do I even need this? Yeah, I thought by default it would do it perfect, and it does. So we can get rid of that. And then this. All right, we're getting there. Okay, we need to fix some of our timestamp stuff. So here, when I look at my alerts, I need to have this properly formatted for these. So I can't pass this in as just a field type. That means that this needs to have on it a status type value, an alert type value, so that didn't take. I really didn't think it would have. Hey Keith, are you still out there? I want to add a pipe onto this, but I think I need to do the transformation before it gets here. So for example, where we get our alert, a pipe for what? On this one, timestamp, I want to add a pipe for date. I'm not sure how to do that when it's formatted this way. Yeah, but there's stuff built into Angular, but I can't do it. I have to translate it before here, right? So this is going to be a get up here, when I get my alerts, get alerts response, I want to do for let I is less than my alerts.length, I++, alerts of I dot alert type value is my, and I need to make sure I have a, what's a cell renderer in AG Grid? Yeah, this isn't what I'm looking for. I want AG Grid Angular pipe. Boom. It is a cell renderer. And the moment library. All right, so it says I should do it just like he said. Listen to me not paying attention. Cell renderer here. Is return my moment of my data dot created at dot format of my month day year hour minute. And then we want to do a npm install moment.js. Then we're going to do an import everything from moment as moment from moment. And let me get the moment.js Angular npm. I don't want that one. I just want this one. And then when I look at example here, all right, that's good as that from import everything from moment or as moment from moment. Okay, that's nice. Okay, now what about these enumerators that I have? Well, I guess I can do the same thing here, right? And it would be a cell renderer of my data, which I don't need. Okay, and then we're going to do a return my this dot global service dot status types of my data dot data. Now I don't know if that's going to work. Dot toString. Because we want to do a console.log of my data here. It's called value. And there we go. And this other one is my alert type, which is going to be a cell renderer of type, and it's a data of any. And this is going to be a alert types we're going to do a console.log output of what's coming out. This one, status types. That's only 1, 1, and 2. But it's only displaying for the first value. I don't get that. Has it not been reloading this whole time? So the cell renderer change breaks it. Oh, that was alert type. But it's only displaying the one for the warning? Because the alerts are shown for multiple components. So it's because you're referencing the same grid with multiple components, I think. So that when I change this cell, so I need to get some kind of an identifier of this grid. Keith, do you have any thought on that? What's going on? So let's look up AG grid Angular multiple components. Okay, over here. Stop. Sit down. So over here, this is saying right. Each one can be its own view child. So it's this, right? I'm having a collision because of this. Because this alerts dashboard is loaded. Ah, puppers, says Fallen Hope. Yeah, she's being super annoying right now. So it's this, though. It's colliding and then changing this one, right? So if my client application HTML looks like this, and there's two of these, AG grid. Are you still there, Keith? Okay, so you have one here which gets your grid ready. You could process that. So I'm really confused with why it's doing this, because is it doing it on everything? Because timestamp worked fine. No, it's making them all the same. Because they didn't all happen at the same time. Yeah, see, now they're all the same. So the issue is that I have one dashboard that has these iterating projects on it. Each project has a number of different client applications. This one has 2. And when I call this AG grid, I get this one view grid of it. And when I modify one of the fields and the cell renderer, then it changes it for all of them. See, and without, they're all different. So let's look for AG grid cell renderer Angular all rows. Multiple view child render. Are you having moment create a new moment? Moment was doing this. Well, is it because it's supposed to be timestamp? It's still changing them all to this time. Return a new moment. What does it take as a parameter? says it's a function. Use value formatter? I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. And then if I do the same thing with a cell renderer, it only populates one group of them, not all of them. Okay, I got that one fixed. This one works. Can you send me a snippet of what you mean? Because it's only sending the current timestamp. Okay, I got it fixed. Oh, that was annoying. It was because it's value, not the value, not the field name. Anyway, so that's done. Yay. Thank you for putting up with me on that, Keith. Let me go back here to my docs, see if there's anything else that it tells me that I should think about. Is there anything else we want to include with this grid? Nothing there. I think we're good to go on this. And let's go ahead and also on my selected rows do a console.log of this. Now it's actually working great. So I think we're done with our grids here. And I'm happy with the way these came out. We're going to use these for alerts. We need to have drop downs next to here so that you can select which ones of the alerts that we want to show. It's interesting, the filter doesn't work because it's what? It's an enumerator behind the scenes, and so it doesn't know that, what the value is. So unfortunately, we're still going to need to do it the other way for those. All right, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to take 15 minutes. When we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to implement Redux in this app, and then we're going to get rid of some of the way that we're storing data and implementing Redux with our Angular CLI app. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. We got an active and supportive community, our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I also put up all these videos at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks very much again, guys, and I'll see you in just a little bit. Thanks. All right, so we forgot to add pagination to our grid. So we're going to do that right now. To do that, where do I want to look for this? We just want to go to AG grid, and it's Angular pagination. And it says that I should just be able to add a pagination equals true property. Okay, so I added that. And it did add pagination here, but it doesn't tell us how many it's set for the default. Because this thing is actually going to grow to any size. We don't have it set. So what I want is this example down here, the one with this, this combo box. So let's take a look at this. And what I want to have is above my grid here, I'm going to have a page size. And do I have somewhere in here a usage of mat select already? Okay, so we're going to bring in this mat form field. And we want this to be a on change. We want to have it a on page size changed. And our ID here is going to be page size. And instead of doing this, my first option is going to be 10. And then we're going to keep going for 10, 25, 50, 100. And we're going to say that this one here is selected. $25, $50, and $100. And now we wanted to say that this is pagination. And then we also want to have a pagination page size equals my pagination page size. And when I look in the code here, we can do this a better way than this by just having a ng model. And we want to set that equal to page size. Which means that in the TypeScript, we can have a page size, which is a number. And we want to set this thing off to be 10. And I think that's it. So if I look back, I should see that this is a page size here. Let's go ahead and just add a bunch of these. So the easiest way to do that would be to look at an app, grab the token, go into the back end, issue an authorize, create one, and then we're going to create a bunch of them. When I look at these, this thing is auto-expanding for any of the size. Pagination doesn't seem to be in effect because it's just going to show all of them. We're going to change this to be page size. And now it's set at 10. Now it didn't change that So you do need to have the change event like that. Then over here, we can say on page size changed, there's another one we need. We need to have an on-grid ready, which passes params here. And we're going to have now a grid API, which is of type any. This .grid API is equal to parameters .api. And then on page size change, this .grid API .pageNation set page size to be my this .page size. So you also want to have on here the oh, there it is. It's just called grid ready, on grid ready as the event. Remove the two-way binding on the drop-down. You mean this? Why? Yeah, but doesn't that do the same thing? Well, all right, we'll just do it that way. On page size changed, we'll take that out. We'll get rid of the ng model here. Pass these as strings. Okay, and then over here, we've got the page size as a string. This .page size equals, and what is it? It's just a number, right? A capital number for the conversion. We're going to do a var value equals your document.getElement by ID of the page size dot value. And then you'll set that to be this. Dot page size. Get back. Never heard of you answer my question about how much you make, if I may ask. This is my side project, so I have a day job. No need to update the grid. Its binding should work. On page size changed. This dot page size change equals. But I need to set it here. Let's take a look at that. On page size changed. Use the value being passed in and already has a binding, you're not passing it in. Change has an event. So like that, which should bind it here. Thank you. Still not catching. Yeah. On page size changed. Still not cat firing. The braces around the value. Oh, here? Still not catching it. And you want function should not be a string parameter right here, right? That worked. Okay, it's not a number, it'll be used an event. Still not catching. problem is I should just be able to do this. Event of value in your... Yeah, but it's not even catching. That's the problem. On grid ready caught. But this one's not catching. Yeah, they're not even catching. The problem is it's just not catching. I need it to catch when we change that form field. It's selection change. Ugh. Yeah, that was it. And now it's working. All right, got it. Okay, we're good there.